It's March 5th, and nothing happened at Fort Pelosi yesterday. Why do they need 5,000 troops there?
They feel the bill contains too much that's unrelated to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The full reading took nearly 12 hours. Later this hour, we'll have more from Washington on where the relief plan heads now.
U.S. Capitol Police were prepared, but threats of another attack on the Capitol didn't play out yesterday. Still, police plan to maintain increased security there. The Associated Press reports that the acting chief of U.S. Capitol Police has asked Congress to allow National Guard troops to continue to protect the building and lawmakers for another 2 months.
We're learning more about the COVID-19 each day. That is compared to an average of 47 in January. The Biden administration is now reportedly considering using a military base in Virginia to house unaccompanied minors. There are also growing public health concerns after more than 100 immigrants tested positive for COVID-19. Texas's governor has refused offers from FEMA to test and quarantine positive immigrants, saying he doesn't want Texas to become a, quote, magnet for illegal immigration.
What President Biden is doing, he's allowing people to come in here who are testing positive for COVID, and they're going across the entire country. Who knows how many people they are infecting?
The Biden administration is running ads in Central America discouraging people from coming, but it seems that message is largely being ignored.
A historic visit for Pope Francis as today he plans to spread a message of peace and tolerance of worshipers who have faced years of persecution. This is also the Pope's first foreign trip since the coronavirus pandemic began. In Minneapolis, the murder peaceful protest and demonstrations, but they will not tolerate a repeat of last spring's riots. Jury selection begins on Monday.
A porch pirate can
by the car with the 3 children inside. Then that out-of-control SUV flies toward them, smashing into the parked car. Thankfully, those 3 children inside the car were not injured. As for the driver of the SUV, police say he is still undergoing medical treatment and has not been charged.
Breathing new life into
going to be a Trump candidate. And if that is animating, he's a threat to Kemp. And I think he would be the front runner if he got in for the for the Republican primary in that Senate race. So right now, I think certainly he is somebody that has some of the cards. I say that I'm not going to, I wouldn't put it past Marjorie Taylor Greene to be jumping into one of these races either. And that will, you want to talk about shuffling the deck, that would shuffle the deck.
Well, wouldn't that be interesting? That would be very, very interesting. So there's some good news on the vaccine front. As Johnson & Johnson
with opening up seems like a reasonable compromise. The fact that that is seen as not a reasonable compromise, at least for Republicans right now, I think shows you just sort of how broken the conversation is between sort of policy and how elected officials handle public reaction. They seem to only care what their political base thinks, not what the general population thinks.
And along the same
the illusion of limbo here, but it's going to get there, but in a pretty messy way.
Meet the Press airs Sunday at 10 a.m.
She says she received something in the mail about unemployment over the summer, but didn't think anything of it.
I became upset. Sure. I'm a victim. You hear these things all the time, people becoming victims of fraud, and it upset me.
Butler says it's important to keep an eye out for any mail from the Department of Labor. If they find you filed for unemployment and are employed, you'll get a letter in the mail. And if there's a mistake, you'll need to reply to the letter to let them know. Butler says the department is already overloaded, and the large number of fraud cases only pulls resources away from other areas.
There is no computer program that can handle it. I mean, this is something where you have to actually have a human being that's calling, trying to hunt the person down, talking to an employer, doing a wage investigation.
Head on over to the Georgia Department of Labor website if you think you're a victim of identity fraud, or if you want to learn more about how to properly document your work hours so that you don't face any legal consequences. In Atlanta, Janice Yu.
Families today, we don't deserve to be here.
Republicans are also offering amendments, many of which are expected to fail.
We're going to try to improve the bill. The millions who elected 50 Republican senators will have their voices heard loud and clear.
Democrats are in a race to pass President Biden's $1.9 trillion proposal before next weekend. That's when many extended emergency benefits run out.
We're not going to make the same mistake we made after the last economic downturn.
The economy did show some growth Friday. The Labor Department said 379,000 jobs were added in February, and the unemployment rate fell to 6.2%.
The rescue plan is absolutely essential for turning this around, getting kids back to school safely, getting a lifeline to small business, and getting the upper hand on COVID-19.
Democrats argue the package is needed to continue recovery. Republicans say it's already happening without the massive price tag.
We are already on track to bounce back from this crisis.
It's likely the Senate will make its way through all the amendments this weekend and take a vote. If the bill is approved, then it will head back to the House. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox 5.
That second collision hurt 3 more people. We're told the van's driver had a seizure before the crash. Police took him into custody but have not charged him. A total of 7 people were injured. 2 years later, and it took another 1.5 years before Reiser was finally arrested.
This individual has no business wearing this uniform.
Dallas police officer Brian Reiser, now in handcuffs, arrested for capital murder and accused of orchestrating the 2017 kidnappings and killings of Liza Sands and Albert Douglas.
Mr. Douglas was reported missing by his family in February of 2017. According to witnesses, he was also kidnapped and murdered in the 200 block of Santa Fe Avenue. Unfortunately, his body was never recovered.
Sands' body was discovered in the Trinity River in March 2017. German Simmons, Kevin Kidd, and Emmanuel Kilpatrick were all arrested for her murder. And police say one of them came forward in 2019, accusing Officer Brian Reiser of hiring them to get rid of Sands and Douglas for a total of $9,500. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, Reiser and the witness who spoke to police met at several locations and discussed a plan to kidnap and kill Douglas. The suspect provided the witness with a physical description of Douglas and where he could be located. According to the witness, the same method of operation was used to locate and kill Sands. The suspect told the witness she was an informant. Cell phone data and FBI analysis put Reiser's cell phone and squad car in the locations of the crimes around the time they happened. Thursday afternoon, Dallas police showed up at Reiser's home with a search warrant. News cameras were rolling as a woman from the home went with investigators and a red car was towed away from the residence. Dallas Police Chief Eddie Garcia addressed the concern that Reiser was allowed to continue with his police duties for more than a year while being investigated for capital murder.
He doesn't become a murder suspect until we have enough information to find probable cause that he is a murder suspect. The fact that he was a person of interest, I think is very important. I think the community should know that this police department wants to be as thorough as possible because we certainly don't want someone slipping through the cracks that has no business wearing this uniform.
Now tonight, Reiser.
Stop Asian American Pacific Islander Hate. From March to December of 2020, the site tracked close to 3,000 racist incidents nationwide. And now in 2021, they're becoming more frequent.
I knew I was slashed, and I called for help, and nobody helped me.
Experts say former President Trump's insistence on associating Asians with the spread of COVID-19 has only fueled the hatred.
The China virus.
There's been a lot of fear stoked about calling us China virus and, Kung flu. And because we don't speak out, I think we've been targeted.
Now people are speaking out from rallies in New York to marches in California.
Stop Asian hate, stop it now!
But law enforcement say gathering evidence to support all attacks are racially motivated isn't easy. In Phoenix, police arrested a 41-year-old man Wednesday on murder charges. He's accused of punching a 74-year-old Asian man in the face, causing him to fall, hit his head, and die from his injuries. Police are looking for the man they say used a rock to beat an Asian high school teacher in the face. Advocates are urging people to speak up. According to the Justice Department, roughly 40% of hate crimes go unreported. Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
Police's pleas for a peaceful weekend seemingly falling on deaf ears as Metro Atlanta investigators are called to the scene of 2 interstate shootings Friday morning.
And just fired upon out of anger instead of thinking about the consequences of you firing a gun in anger.
The first Here on I-75 South in Clayton County, in one vehicle, a group of 4 heading to Florida for vacation. Behind them, a dark-colored sedan or SUV, according to investigators.
And they both simultaneously decided to change into the same lane. While they were changing into the lane, both of them kind of saw that they was changing, and they both swerved back. I guess the other driver kind of got a little upset and started tailgating the victim. He shot into the vehicle, striking the victim.
The rear passengers say police shot in the head, rushed to the hospital around 2 a.m., is reportedly in serious condition. Roughly an hour later, more gunshots, more violence, this time on I-85 South in nearby Gwinnett County.
Our officers first arrived at the scene. They located a car pulled over to the side of the interstate and one victim suffering from at least one gunshot wound.
That victim, a 33-year-old rapper known as Chucky Trill. He died at the hospital. His agent says he was in town for a virtual performance during All-Star Weekend.
It is unusual to have a shooting on the interstate. It's obviously extremely concerning as well because there are people that travel either to and from work or home on the interstate daily.
To alter the fate of the bill, which is expected to pass. And this marathon session coming after Senate leaders struck a deal with moderate Democratic Senator Joe Manchin over emergency jobless benefits. Now, under this new agreement, existing $300 weekly unemployment benefits will be extended through early September. Previous version of the bill passed by the House had increased those benefits to $400 a week, but ended them in August. So this bill also provides direct payments of $1,400 to most Americans, along with aid to state, local governments, schools. If passed, the bill will have to go back to the House before President Biden can sign it.
Whatever form it takes, as long as it's not substantially modified from the bill that we sent over to the Senate, I expect that it will have strong support in the House.
GOP Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan had to go home for a family funeral, we've learned, so only 99 senators are actually voting this weekend. That means the vice president will be on hand to break any ties. Back here at home with so